the goals so far this season, and Ashley, I think you'd like to kick us off by saying a few words.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it'll turn on. Yeah. Make it a bit more noise on the screen. Just before we get started, I'd just like to pass on my thanks from myself and Sharon for the cards, well wishes, flowers, flags, emails, texts, and just general all-round support we've had following my brother's death. It's been overwhelming, obviously a tricky time, but the support of the town has been just incredible, and a great solace, I suppose, in a tricky time, so thank you very much for that. Following on from that, on Tuesday, so a week today, at 11 o'clock, there is a sort of private ceremony that's happening down in Richmond where my brother lived, in Richmond Park. It's a non-religious ceremony, but we will be streaming, that's the word, but after streaming the event to the club here. So if anybody wishes to attend that, we'll put a post out as well. I know the squad are going to come, because we can't accommodate everyone down in Richmond. It would be nice if people feel that they want to come, and that's at 11 o'clock on Tuesday next week. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much, because the support has been incredible. Both at the game when there was the Leeds pause and they stopped the game, and then but just generally around the town, it's been heartening. Thank you very much for that. So anyway.
And John, perhaps you could really just talk about Phil's legacy.
The legacy left by Phil is ultimately priceless, really. I think the fact that we are back in the EFL, the trust, as we know, we did a sort of foundation, taking over and stabilising, and Ash and Phil came in and got us back in the football league, back in the league, which really worked at Paul did. And I think that will be the lasting legacy, and making us an established side in League Two, but hopefully going through that pretty soon as well, and just the financial stability really that was able to come along when Ash and Phil were back involved. So I think that's to me is the biggest legacy. And the exciting days football. I've got a fantastic photo of Phil and myself on the pitch after the Bournemouth game when we won the league. I just happened to see him, and I don't know quite who took the photograph, but somebody sent it to me. Great times really.
And now bringing you into the conversation, Paul, if we just talk about the season so far from your point of view.
Yeah, 8 games in, and we're genuinely not playing well. We're stuttering. We probably, the first half against Mansfield was by far the best we played. By far. Without a doubt, it was by far. In other games, Cheltenham away, we've done okay. We managed the game. We're just not fighting. We're searching for it. I think anyone who wants Liverpool play Burnley on Sunday, we come up against it a little bit with these low blocks now. It sends you to sleep. It's so hard to play against them. We're finding it tough. The players at the top end of the pitch are struggling. They're just struggling to find that real, click. And Achilles heel, we give the first ball away home ridiculously too many times. So we're chasing games rather than putting teams away. But as I say, it's 8 games in. We're working ever so hard on the training ground. Because I do believe when teams click, that's when you go forward. So for us, I think we're in an okay position in the league. Crawley first half, terrible. Croot getting the less said about that, the better. And obviously, Gillingham away was a tough take. Because we got let down on the night, we really did. Because we're chasing a game that we shouldn't be chasing. You know, from that point then, who else have we played? Harrogate. I didn't watch much of the Harrogate game, I've got to be honest with you. Who else have we played? Bristol Rovers at home. Yeah, okay, so I think the school report says doing okay, but plenty of room for improvement, plenty of room.
And your thoughts on how the new signings have settled in?
Again, it's new, isn't it? I think if you work from the back, obviously Zach's come in. Again, we're not being disrespectful, our goalkeepers don't have a lot to do in games. You know, I think on Saturday he faced one shot on target. You know, that's the brutal reality of it. So Zach's still finding his feet. He's like most people, you know, confidence is huge in football. Confidence for all the players is a massive thing. I do think there's a very, very good goalkeeper in Zach, and I think that will come out in time now. Again, the goals against that we concede were very rare under pressure. It's what the modern day calls transition, which in other words is breakaways, and we're still probably, you know, Harrogate's goal was a throw-in, 2 Gillingham goals came before the both goal kicks, and it goes on. You know, so we're trying our best to tidy up defensively. When we come away from Cheltenham, we thought that, yeah, we look rock solid, but in football you never do. You know, it changes on the goal, and going into, I think Sturkey's doing really well. What else have we got? Top end of the pitch, Darcy started really well, but last couple of games is struggling to find space at the top end of the pitch. But the biggest thing about football, I've always said to our flair players, like all teams flair players, they're supposed to be the difference in the game. So one moment of magic, it's like young Mark Andy at the minute, he's struggling to find himself on the pitch. We need one moment of magic from them lads to score the first goal and sees the opposition open up because they have no choice. That can see us take the game away from them. So at the minute we're just not getting it right, but within that, are we 4 points off the top? Is that what we have, 4 points? Are we 6th in the league? Yeah, so you probably take it up to very well, wouldn't you? That's to be honest, I do think there's growth in us, I think there's big growth in us. I think when lads start getting used to playing with each other, which is a big thing, passing to each other, which is also a big thing, I do think the team will grow, and see us grow to a place I think that we all want us to be.
Okay, Ashley, we were talking earlier about the Owen training ground and the importance of that, which we all recognise, and what are the plans for that for the future?
Well, obviously we've improved the facility. I think that goes without saying. A little bit since when you arrived, when we both arrived, when the place was in close to disrepair, I guess, and not being used by the previous regime very well, the previous manager. So we've improved the grass. The next stage, we've put a few semi-facilities down there. So like improve the sort of shelter for the groundskeepers and the players when they turn on, because they were in the Jim's old club shop, which has been replaced. But yeah, the next sort of big capital project that we will be considering will be to improve the facilities for the team at the training ground, and sort of put, you know, it's very important. It's becoming increasingly obvious. It's very important the guys have got a proper gym and proper changing facilities, etc., etc. Now that's early stages, and we'd have to go through planning and all that sort of stuff. But that's where the next, obviously, this year has been, you know, sitting in it, and we'll be visiting it in terms of the capital spending. But yeah, that's the sort of next potential phase that we're looking to push, which will, you know, again, it's taking the club forward. It should help with track players. You know, that's what I've seen the little time I've been here. That if you've got some decent facilities, it helps undoubtedly attract the right type of player. So that's the next plan. There's some whispering behind the back. We were just talking about the training ground and whether we've got any footage, which we'll try and sort at the interval. We'll try and show a bit of coverage there. But if I can return to you, Paul, one thing which we should cover, of course, is the departure of Danny Webb.
Sad day, really sad day. I think Danny was much loved by probably 99.9% of the old football club. From when I come in, taking over, fantastic guy, fantastic person to work with. Always made it clear to me that he wanted to manage, which I really respected. So as a club, as we've moved forward, we've always felt this thing was coming. It was done really professionally. John was involved in it. With Yeovil, everything was done properly. Danny thought it was the right opportunity. And I think he's probably left now, and Yeovil have probably gained a lot of support. I think we're all looking for Yeovil's result. He claimed the win on Saturday and he wasn't, he was in his stand. He claimed that. But great lad, great person. I'd love us to get Yeovil in the cup here. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be more like the Yeovil to get Kings Lynn, so they could go renew that relationship. No, but again, can't wish him well enough, can't thank him enough for his time here, and I think it'll only be when he comes back that he'll get a fantastic reception.
He's somebody, of course, who was already in place when you came here, so often there's a clean sweep, but you managed to work with Danny and help him on his path towards a career in management.
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously Danny had been caretaker on all the Italian, and I think he'd done 2 or 3 games for Chesterfield. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think I was doing Sky for one of the games, was it the Stockport away one? And he paid 10 minutes extra time. He said it was the longest 10 minutes of his life. Did Kingy get sent off? Yeah, Kingy got, which is normal for Kingy. Again, I think now he's learned here, not being enough free, he's just learned about football from Ash, John, Andy, the chairman, right through the club. He's ready to take the challenge up now, it's great for him. It really is. We'll be supporting him. I was on the phone to the guy, we'll be supporting him all.
Okay, we'll touch on a few other subjects. Conscious that we want to open it up to the floor for people to ask their own questions. One of the areas we talked about when we were planning some of the subjects for tonight about the academy and 1 or 2 of the younger players coming through. We've got the likes of Gunnar Elliott and Alex Whitney who've come into the side this season. So good to see that progression from the academy.
Yeah. Listen, when you get relegated like we did 7 years ago, 6 years ago, the club's going to have setbacks. You are in a period of rebuilding. I think Neil and the guys over that side have done a fantastic job. They've actually kept it going. We had a game against them today for the lads who weren't playing. Certainly the challenge for them all, Gunnar, young Liam Jessup who's on loan in Gibraltar at the minute, Alex who's doing great. For any of them, the distance from where they are to the first team is big. It's huge, and it's a step sometimes that for all young lads they've got to be given time. They're never going to just step up and go, oh, they're good enough. It doesn't work like that. But they're training every day with good players, they're working hard, they're learning the game, and the hope is that one of them can go through to get in the team. I think that's a challenge for all. The academy is huge for us. It's not better to see one of your own lads go through a system of play. So I think that's now for the next year or 2 for sure. I think we'll start seeing more of it year by year. But obviously we had a big setback 6 years ago because you're not getting the best kids then. To go to all the clubs around us. So I think they've done great. Great to see them starting to come through now. And hopefully in the next period of time we can see more.
And Ashley, turning to you with the academy and yourself, John, as well in turn, the academy and just really talking about the fact that fans do love to see some homegrown players. We did a podcast about the academy earlier. There's no doubt that fans do like to see ones come through the system and appear in the team, but it's not something that happens overnight. There's a lot of groundwork that needs to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at a picture of John when we came in, and that was, I'm not sure if anyone saw it on the screen. I was about 2 stone area, just saying. But John had dark hair then, and then when we started doing the Academy EFL this year, I'm sure that's the result of a year doing the EFL Academy as a CEO, because that's one thing that people perhaps don't see. It probably took, I might be underplaying it, 30% of your year last year to set the Academy up and with the administration and the demands that the EFL put on us as a club, and it's not a cheap option. And it's pulled in the back. We've had some great volunteers who've come and helped, and they have a full understanding of what's been involved. But from a club point of view, oh good grief, I mean John will give you a better overview, but just the number of meetings, minutes, the auditing that they've had to go through. There was 2 massive audits that lasted 3 or 4 days each, and it's an ongoing safeguarding audit, medical audit, this audit, that audit. It's a never-ending stream, and you know we had 9 lads. That's all we had last year. 9 lads. Bear in mind we had 57 from there, not quite that many professionals last year. we had a lot, but you know it took an inordinate amount of time for the club to get the system going, and it was good to see that from my point of view. When we went away to Spain, we came back, and Gunnar was training with the first team. People were saying good things about him, and he was doing really well. It's a bit unfortunate he's got an injury that's going to see him out until Christmas, but that's the way it is. But it was at the time, it was a little bit of, oh, actually, there's a chance. And that's all you want as a supporter, is just go, oh, there's a chance that somebody might be somewhere coming through. Problem is, we tend to rush it as fans, don't we? And it's like, oh, he's great, and then you throw him in, and confidence, as we mentioned earlier, confidence is key. That you don't throw them into situations where they're going to drown. You need to throw in where they're going to do well, and that's obviously the job of Paul and his team. But yeah, Paul John's hair. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll over to you.
No, I think I'll just endorse it really. I mean, to give you an idea, one of the audits we've got 9 scholars and 8 came to do an audit, 8 people from the EFL. It was incredible, really. And they come in for 4 or 5 days and document 300-400 pages, questions that need answering, protocols put in place. But we've done it, we passed, and we got the licence till the end of next season, which is what you'd expect. They do it year by year. So it's gradual improvement both off the pitch and on the pitch for the academy, really. But it's great to see that we are getting some progress coming through. So it's great.
Well, John, while you're at the mic, we were talking earlier about the introduction of an independent football regulator, and perhaps if you can just tell us a little about that for those who don't know about it.
Yeah, they've engaged with us. The independent regulator is come from an act of government to bring regulation into football in certain areas. There's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, around about. People aren't quite sure what they regulate and what they don't regulate. They've sort of got 4 core themes, really. Financial regulation, and it's the stability of clubs, which is fantastic. I think we'd all agree with that. Club ownership and checking owners out before they come into the game, and been on a Zoom this afternoon where it's not just the owners actually as well, it's senior officials that have to get approval from the regulator before they're appointed and approved. They have to be approved. Another really important one as well is fan engagement, ensuring that clubs do fan engagement. And then, all important, but another one as well, which I think is one that, to be honest, we're good at this club anyway, which is club heritage. You know, there are 4 areas. There's the badge, the traditional name of the club can't be changed, the stadium or the colours without fans vote either, which is great, really. So it's a real step forward, I think, for English football. But it's important to remember that, you know, things like 3 up, 3 down won't come under the remit of, they won't get involved in things on the field. They've said parachute payments are not part of the remit of the regulator, which might surprise a few in the room. So it's still finding its feet, that people are in place, and as I say, I've been on my first Zoom today. I think Ashley's going to Manchester in about a month, aren't you? But it's great to be engaging with us, and obviously we will comply and be an active and really respond to with enthusiasm and put suggestions forward.
Okay. In a moment, we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. But before we do, Ashley, if we just touch on the changes that have been made in here. Obviously, a major refurbishment, which we can all see, and what a fantastic development it's been.
Yeah, obviously the stadium was 15, 16 years old. The lounge was possibly, I think, maybe out of fashion when it was built. I don't know. But Sharon particularly was keen to improve. Actually, Sharon was particularly keen to improve the ladies' toilets. That's where it all started. She recognised the value of, if you've got a venue where you're trying to hire it out, and you have people turning up and they don't like the facilities where they have to use, then you're up against it. And then you combine that with perhaps some of the interesting carpeting, etc., and the fact that it wasn't truly multifunctional that we needed it to be. The lighting was done, the ceiling was done, the bar was tired. There were lots of things that once we started sort of scratching the surface, it became apparent that we needed to change things. So we've got. I know it's generally blue and white in here, but the lighting system can be changed so that if a company comes in or there's a wedding and they want specific corporate colours or wedding colours, we can change all that for them. And we've got new dance floor, stage, etc., etc. But we're trying to make sure that it can cope with this type of event, a business conference. It can cope with. We have the blood service in because they were going to leave if we didn't improve the lighting. And they come in 20-30 times a year. And then we're applying for a wedding licence, but we also have private parties, wakes, etc. And the type of events that would have happened in here in the past. But it was key that we needed to uplift it and put it into a venue that the club was proud to show people around. And I think we've achieved that so far. There's a little bit of work still to do. We're just finishing the disabled toilets off, I believe. And thanks to the feedback from Sylvia and Zoe, who've made sure that we've got that as right as we can do. It's the way that we want the club to be perceived. And if we can turn this, I've said it before, if we can turn it into the main big venue for this part of the world, then that's a big tick in what we're trying to do.
And the match day offering in the lounge has changed as well.
A bit. Now we see that we've increased the options that people had. We have, and still have, an ongoing issue with costs. I mean, please feel free to write to your local MP and complain about various new taxation. But anyway, there are issues around staffing retention, staffing costs when you can retain them. And we felt that we wanted as many people in the lounge to have an option and a range of how they view it. So in here it used to be a 3-course meal. Now it is, you can turn up and just use the bar. You can turn up, use the bar and buy bar snacks, or you can buy tapas, which we've introduced the last 2 games, have been very successful. Or you can still have a standard 3-course meal. We've had to put the price up because the powers that be decided that staffing is really expensive, and obviously food's expensive as well. Food pressures, food price pressures without boring everyone about economics, have affected the offering. But over the course of since the start of the season, the club is making £2,000 a game more than we were doing before. Because unfortunately, we had to let our staffing's lower. But our food options are improved, shall I say? And it's just the way of the world, I'm afraid. Yeah. So, okay. But I mean, the average price for it to come in here has gone down, but you don't get any food. So if you want food, then that's to be bought. That was the thinking behind it.
So there's more flexibility.
Oh well, yeah.
Food will
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So have we got somebody who will ask the first question? It's always the most tricky one to get underway. If you want to put your hand up, and I'll come round with the mic, so towards the back here, and I will get that QR code sorted shortly, if I just negotiate my way around. Just 1 second.
Yes, a question for Paul. Now that Danny Webb's obviously moved on, will he be looking at expanding the coaching team or just maybe, I know, Robbo's taking over?
I think one of the things, if you just go back, again, when Kieran Dyer was ill, we brought Paddy Bain in, and obviously when Kieran come back, Ash and Phil at the time were very good in support, and Paddy had done a great job. It was unfair sort of to let him go. Kieran come back into good health, and he's 2 years now post that. So we've probably been a staff member too heavy if the two been home, and that was obviously thanks to the people above us that they allowed that. Obviously with Danny moving on, we feel that the numbers that we've got are good. Danny again will be missed. He does the defensive set plays and the ones against. So obviously Paddy and Pookie have took them on. They were both nervous wrecks, so they'll be even worse than probably this season. But no, the answer to your question, we're dead comfy with what we've got, and we're battling. No problem.
Yeah, it was particularly important to my brother, actually. This is where that all came from. When Kieran was ill, Paddy came in, and he got a good job, hadn't he, at Everton? He had a good job. He was also involved with Mac Hosfield, wasn't he? But he came in and helped us out. I think he knew Gary, didn't he, through a coaching course, and really, he really enjoyed it. And he came into the club, and you know, the club, I think anyway, the club's a special place to work. I think people, you know, I had every player who left since I've been involved sent a personal message when Phil died. You know, and I think that's indicative of what we do here. So it was when Kieran came back, and to be fair, I mean, there was no guarantee. Kieran was, you know, he was ill. He was really ill. We couldn't let Paddy, you know, he put his support behind the club. He was really enjoying it. He was doing the right thing. But you know, Phil was particularly keen that we kept everyone in, and you know, just try and do the right thing. So that was.
Okay, should just point out the QR code on the screen, got it working, so if anybody wants to scan that and then put a question in there, I'll read that. So that's for people who don't really want to go over a mic. That doesn't apply to our next question, Phil, and we'll gladly go on the mic.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. It's a question that needs asking. It's a hard question to ask, but of course the last forum like that this we had was immediately after Phil's diagnosis back in the springtime, and he was very candid saying that he wanted to leave a long-term legacy. And my question, obviously, as somebody who's supported the club for a long time and wants to support it for a lot more, is what are you able to tell us, for a club that's been losing a few quid over the last few years but is stable, what that legacy looks like as of today?
Yeah, I mean, we're still, no bones about it, we're still losing money, but you know, Phil and now Sharon have made a commitment to keep supporting the club. But I mean, it's a strange thing to talk about. I had a few sort of a literal deathbed conversations with my brother, you know, over the weeks preceding his before he died, and you know, he was very keen to do the training ground work. He's very keen to get us established as a League One club. Having said all that, you know, there will, and it's not in the near future, but there will come a time where Sharon and the boys will, you know, will they be able to support a League One club? That's an expensive game. So it could well be that at some point when we feel that the legacy is secured, that, I mean, that was always going to be the case anyway in terms of bringing extra funding in. It just might mean, you know, an extra, it might mean a different owner at that point, and that's been totally honest because, you know, my brother's not here anymore. Now, we've not even had the funeral yet. That's me, and I hope Sharon doesn't feel I'm talking out of turn here. You know, the conversation was, let's get to League One, let's do this, let's do that. But, you know, where Sharon's head might be at in 2-3 years time, I don't know, because she's, you know, she's, as you can imagine, in a flat spin with everything, and she's ultimately the owner. That's how it is. But again, I go back to the conversation. We've written a list of what we want to achieve, and you know, sustainability is high up there, but it's very, very difficult to do. Then it's establishing the League One bit. It's getting the training facilities right, getting the club in a footing where, you know, we've got the academy, we've got the training ground, we've got the ground, we've got the fans, we've got the community together, the towns together, and let's see where that takes us. I'd love to say, you know, that's where we are. That's big, you know, it's cards on the table. That's where we are.
Okay. The very first question we've received via the QR code, we've actually had a few people ask. I thought this was going to be an absolute failure. But a few people, I'll just read one out here from now before asking people in the room over the mic. That Christian Meadow was asked, what's the latest with James Berry?
Trained the last 2 days, played the game today. Been probably a process longer than we thought. Obviously with Dylan Duffy being out, it's affected changes at the top end of the pitch in the second half. So hopefully James will have his day off tomorrow with the rest of the players, and he will be in the squad on Saturday probably. So that is the latest. He's done 2 days. Just got to be careful with him, you know, to make sure that, you know, he doesn't have a recurrence to the injury, because obviously with them hamstrings, they're not nice injuries. The 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, which is a long period of time. So he's been nursed along really well, done a lot of training ground stuff, and he's been back with the first team lads now for 2 days.
Okay, another question via QR code. I think it's telling that it's anonymous. Nobody put in a name to it. Saying, do you ever plan on changing the formation?
Oh my God!
Maybe having 2 strikers on the field at once. Now, whoever it is who's asked that, she's allowed to go on.
Ashley's dad. Not the 2 up top one again. Listen, one of the things I pride myself on in my whole managerial career is that I would suggest 90% of the seasons the team I've managed has finished leading scorers in the division. So I've never ever felt the need. If you see on Saturday where Dobbs has a shot late on that's blocked in the middle of the goal, Lewis Gordon is in. Lewis Gordon, Dobbs should square it, Gordon's in to score. So all teams in football defend with so many and attack with so many. That's just a brutal truth. Very few teams are playing 2 up front now. Very, very few. And it's like, I'm not being disrespectful to people my age or older, it's something that age group clamour and crave, because we all got brought up with it. Modern day football's different now, and unfortunately for our fans, you're not going to see 2 up front. You might do now and again. No, I think what we're coming across now, as you can see with low blocks and stuff like that, the way to beat it is win and crosses in the box. At the minute, we're not doing both well. We're not doing both well. All teams manage the middle of the pitch fairly well. They block it off. So, like when Jack Sparks was here, you know, and Devon Tanter was brought in, they're natural crosses of the ball, and that's where our bit comes from. So, I'll always debate the point in terms of, I always respect other people's opinions on football, and the 2 up front, I get it. We defend with 4 Chesterfield. We defend with our 2 centre-halves and our 2 central midfielders. There's only Man City and Liverpool defend with 3. Everyone else defends with 5. So we're a very, very attack-minded team. The problem we get, the opposition sometimes doesn't want to engage us in the match. For example, we'll play Notts County home and away, and you'll get a proper game of football. We'll play Team B, and it's not a game. The onus is on us to break them down, and that's where the flair players become important. So I do respect the 2 up front. To play 2 up front, you have to put the ball forward quickly and hit the 2 lads at the top end, and your team's got to be built then on picking up second balls. Our team's built on flair players who can play in a totally different way. So I respect that you're front, but will I be turning to it? No.
Just one point for everyone to think about. We have 22 players we can put in the squad, right? Yeah. If we play 2 up front, we're going to need 4 strikers minimum, maybe 6. They are the most expensive players, which will massively reduce the quality in other areas of the pitch. It's also, not only is it not in line with how we want to play, it's massively uneconomic.
Thanks, Ash. So the answer to the question is we can't afford 4 strikers.
I've got a question for you, John. I'm going to ask in the room, and I'll probably ask that as I'm making my way to everybody in the back. But anybody want to put their hand up for a question? And I'll head over. In the meantime, John, if you want to answer this, has the artificial pitch project at Stand Road stalled, or is it still live?
Well, just to be clear, as a starter, it's actually a trust project rather than directly a club because obviously the trust can get the funding. It's very much back on track. We've had some good news on it recently, and it's progressing through to it. I was speaking to Mike about it the other day. The reason actually that it's taking a bit longer is because the plans have changed for it. So the trust are being encouraged to go for more funding to do a bigger sports development on there with some funding that's available for football. That's not more loads of different 3G pitches, but making the grass pitches better and things like that are on there, and the facilities and the pavilions. So the sort of the answer is yeah, it's very much on track and actually taking longer because we've been encouraged to make it a bigger project, which will be good, even better for the park.
Okay, we've got a question over here.
So, following Robbo's yellow card, are we going to keep a tally for the season on who gets what?
Good question. I think obviously I got 5 in 7 games. So, no, I think this is a serious conversation. I think yeah, 5 and 6. So, I don't mind saying this, the Gillingham away one, it really upset me. I went to see the referee after the game, and he made me sit outside for 30 minutes, 31 minutes. To be exact, sat outside his door on the floor. I told him I would be sitting here waiting for you. And we had to travel back. We had probably 300 supporters travel down there, and we got let down badly by the officials on the night. The information, the 2 assessors come in when I was allowed in, and I asked the referee clearly, I said to the assessor, can I ask the linesman his information? The linesman had the best view of anyone, and they worked together as a team for them. The linesman said to me, we have to support the referee's decision. I asked the assessor then who was in the room, can I ask him to tell me what his information was? Through the comms, he said you're fully entitled to, Paul. The information the linesman gave him was no penalty, keeper plays the ball. I told the referee there and then, we're in trouble now. You've now turned down the best view in the stadium to give a penalty. And that's a big call. I had Mike Jones on, the guys that tell you the next day, apologising for the referee's performance. The both penalties shouldn't have stood. The second one was a yellow card for simulation. And then you see Gillingham get another penalty at Bromley last week. I think it's 13 months since we've had a penalty. Chesterfield. So I made the decision tonight, when I come back, I think it'll let police is all. I don't speak to officials no more. I don't shake hands with them. I don't say hello or goodbye. I'm done with them. I've supported them in all my time in football. Every game, every week we're coming away. Yellow cards don't get rescinded. My anger comes on the back of their decisions. On watching our supporters travel the length of the country to support us, and we're 2-0 down. So I made the decision, and it's quite ironic, the staff were betting, including Webby, that I wouldn't be able to do it. I couldn't keep it up for 10 minutes. So I felt it quite ironic at Walsall. But got booked. But that's the truth. I'm concentrating now on the team, on how we play. I can't affect the decisions. The sadness for football, I think every week we're watching football and we're speaking about referees and decisions too much now. Probably unfair on the referees and the linesmen. They're being asked to do too much now. And we're just taking away the good side of football. We all come to watch two teams play football. We don't come to watch the officials. So you won't see me with any more yellow cards. You won't see me talking to fourth officials. And you certainly won't see me shaking hands. So if anyone wants to sponsor me, but that's the truth of it. That's the real truth.
Well, we're going to have a couple of questions before the break. Just to let you know that we will be revealing the new third kit after the break, so we'll have a break of about 15 minutes. But before then, we'll fit in a couple of more questions, and then after the break and the kit reveal, I'm sure we've got time for a few more questions then as well. So we've got one towards the back of the room.
Hi people. I have a question outside of the men's game. This season, the ladies and the women of Chesterfield have amalgamated into one team, but they've had to move out of town to play their games, their home games. And I mean out of town, Mansfield. And it's, I'm just wondering what the reasoning behind that was.
I think it's quite simple that we are we're desperate for pitches and places to train, which is why we mentioned already about investing in training grounds. It's a real issue for us. We want to, ideally, to be fantastic for the women to be playing on here and playing all their games on here. The pitch just doesn't stand it at the minute. But hopefully, one day we might be able to, if we can get some funding in different areas, we might be able to do something like that. But it's just what is available to us. We've got another site lined up in North Derbyshire, but that was taken from underneath us for the women for this season. So that was for the standard of pitch that they wanted is what we were able to get. But to answer a sort of wider question about the women's game, it's something that we really support, and the club are investing in it. And thanks for bringing it up for raising that. It is an important part and will become an increasingly important part of the club as it will across football, I'm sure, moving forward. We managed to bring the two biggest teams together in the ladies' game in Chesterfield, put them under the club grant. It's all work in progress. Michelle's doing a great job bringing it all together. We brought the women's first team over to the club, and it is work in progress, but the plan is that we support it. Bridget's working on sponsorship for it, bringing sponsors in for it as well, and we've had some success on that, so yeah, it is work in progress.
Okay, thanks John. The QR...
Can I just
Yeah.
say, I've been to the first two of the women's games at
Sherwood Colliery. The facilities are fantastic. There's nothing like that would be available in the borough just at this moment in time. There's a great clubhouse, there's a great tea-bar, it's a fantastic pitch, great viewing facilities, plenty of cover under the rain. Last year they played at Shirebrook, where you had to stand outside in the open and face all the weather, and you were watching through a cage. So it's a much better place to play football than last season, and about the same distance away. It's a fantastic facility.
Okay, thanks Phil. So I think now is a good time to break. We've got about 15 minutes before we reveal the new third strip. Thanks to everybody who's been sending the questions via the QR code. We'll still have time to post some of those questions a little later on, but we'll have a break and come back around about 7:30. Thank you.
glad you asked me about fashion. You might remember last year we had a white shirt that looked great, but yeah, we lost 3-0 in it this time we played. We had basically Puma got in touch, said we got a short run on white shirts. Would you be interested? And we thought it'd be really good for the game where they have the poppy on, which is when they use it. And then on the back of that, of course, this is how they get it. Now you're in the league, you know, most teams have a third string. So the process starts in June. Actually, the process started, I'll take this year. In May of this year, we had the first sort of design meeting with Puma. We have selected next year's kit, first, second and third, which had to be done in July. And last week we had to order the stock for next year, for next year's sales. So that's how far in advance we're operating. Now, in terms of the support you get a designer, you get some guidance, you get sort of the thoughts of Puma, where fashion is going and all that sort of stuff. I'm a little bit with it. So Bridget and I generally are the ones in the room with John occasionally, if he can get out of his academy meetings, who were involved in making the final decisions, I suppose. But yeah, this year, I think it was May, we sort of had the first look. July, we signed up on the design. Last week, we ordered both pro kit and retail kit, and that's so that they can get it now from a factory in Vietnam, where we have perhaps a 3 days run out of the factory. Man City have about 5 weeks. Yeah, it's all done out of the same place, and hence the need to do it with such a long lead time, which came as a surprise to me. But this obviously the third kit was. We felt, I mean, I'll be honest. My task to them was saying I'd like something that people could wear in the pub as well. So that's what they came up with in terms of a brief. So anyway, there you go.
Well, it's very relevant, of course, because a lot of fans are wearing it with jeans and things like that. So, you know, it does make sense to not only think of what it looks like as a football shirt. So, of course, replica kit is available this evening. So, if you see the girls at the back of the room, they will be able to sell you replica kit. There's Angie and there's Casey as well. Online tomorrow morning as well, they'll be available. No Club Superstore opening tomorrow, but you will be able to get it online and then back open on the Club Superstore on Thursday.
Yeah, and we have all the stock in John's office as well, don't we, at the minute?
So help John out, give him some space in his office, please, because there's mountains of boxes and he can't get to his desk at the moment. So please do help him out by buying as much tonight as you can.
And you can't let them go without asking him some questions.
Well, I will ask you very brief questions. I know that wasn't part of the contract tonight, but since the chairman's asked me, I can't really turn him down. So, Armando, just starting with you, just your thoughts on how it's gone so far this season.
It's gone alright. I think we could have got a bit more points, but positive start, and we're near the top, so that's the most important thing.
And for you, Lee, obviously you're new to the club and coming over from the Netherlands and playing here. How have you found it?
Yeah, it's been great, and all the fans have been great, and the team's been excellent. And hopefully we just get a bit of a form going and push on at the game.
Now looking forward to Saturday's game at Bromley. What are your thoughts out of that?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game on good opposition, and we always find it difficult in some, so we've got to have our A game on the.
Well, that's 3 more questions than I said that you would be facing, so thanks guys. Don't hold it against me. But let's hear it now for Lee. One that we couldn't fit in before the break, John, that came in via the QR code, which has proved to be very popular this evening. And it was about a subject we've talked about before at fans forums, and it's about the possibility of introducing points for away tickets. Where are we with that in terms of, is that something we're likely to see at some point? Like busters, two come on boss.
It's certainly something we've spoke about and we've looked into. We've not brought it in yet. There's a lot of work to do with it. All in all, I think that the fans that go everywhere, we do get looked after. We might not do it on a points basis, but I do think that they do get the tickets. But it's something that we certainly don't rule out. It's just that also for getting information from clubs, we'd have to then be in control of all the away tickets, which is not always easy. I appreciate some clubs do it, other clubs do it, so as I say, I wouldn't rule it out, but it's not here for this season. I think that's where we'll say.
Okay. Any question over the mic before I go back to QR code? Tom?
Good chaps. Good to see you. As you know, I've been very well for the last year or so. And since I've come back, I've noticed how difficult it can be to get up and down the stairs. I'm in J Road in the West End, so it's quite, I know it's only about 4 or 5 steps down from the top. Is there has there been thought about putting some sort of rails in? I've known there's been some clubs I've been to, Barnet, something else, they've got rails at the end of each road. But over the years, certainly since I've been coming to here, I have seen 2 or 3 rather nasty accidents where people, generally people that have had too much drink or are elderly, take and tumble. I appreciate it with the high crap expense. I wonder if the club ever thought about that. And on the sort of tax, has the club ever thought about standing seats in the cops? Because they stand up virtually all the time anyway.
Yeah, regarding first of all the rails on the stairs or something like that. Again, I think it's something we can look into. There are different solutions now than there were some years ago. But I do remember, and it is going back before COVID times, that there was resistance from some members of the SAG group because of it, we need the easy access to get people out to the stadium. We'll certainly look, like you say, there are some potential. I understand what you mean. And it is something that we would need to look at. Like you say, there is an expense to it, Tom, that has to be remembered. But yeah, we'll take on board what you say, I think is the best thing. A lot of the solutions that are out there now weren't available a few years ago. But we can, we certainly.
Just so as you're aware, Toby, the safeguarding lead, brought the issue to the board meeting last week, and it was raised at the board meeting. Obviously, it was then the kickback from that, wasn't it? It was to just find out how much it might cost to do section by section, because obviously whatever happens is going to be expensive, but it was discussed at board level. We've asked Toby to try and get it, because he was talking about he knew someone who might know someone who got a solution from another club that he has contacts with, so that's where it's at. You know, as ever with these things, there's going to be some financial hits, and but it was discussed at the last, which was last Wednesday. Thank you, Mike. That was there. I don't know what day it is.
Able-bodied, I would appreciate that some difficulties for some people. It's only since I've been slightly disabled that I've done so difficult to get to my seat. I'd just like to thank the club and Pete Wing especially, because when I was ill, he encouraged me to come back and register some seats out in Mealing Park in the disabled road. because it's your most. Thank you very much.
Okay, question from Martin.
Question, it's just, if you speak to Pete, you can come up in the lift inside here, and a lot of people need to know that they just need to email the DLO and they will help them with solutions for any disabilities within the club.
Okay. Any questions over the mic? We've got one or two via the QR code. But while I'm coming to the back, Paul, if you can answer this, that I'll read out. This is from Alex. What are the biggest lessons you learned about competing in League 2 last season that you brought into this season or looking to bring into this season? Nice easy one for you.
We drew too many games at home, which was a massive thing last year. Giving the first goal up at home, especially early in games, it just happens too many times. The challenge for us when we score first is massive majority we win the game. The first goal was so important in every game. Yeah, that'd probably be about it, but it was a great question.
Another one for you, Paul, I think, here.
Hiya. First of all, thanks for everything that everybody's done for the club. I've been reading a few comments on Facebook when Phil passed away, and a lot of them, opposing supporters, said a footballing family. I think that's a great way of looking at it. We're all together, but we're obviously fighting, playing the pitch against each other. So, but the main point, completely different. It's I've not been to every away match or home match in all this season, but the topic that comes up is the centre halves. And, you can see what good careers they've had, and some really good flashes of brilliance. But if people keep, the question I seem to see is a lot is, can we have a young, fast centre half?
Love one.
What's your view on
We
that?
have two.
What's your view on that?
It's a fair question. I think there's a lot of detail in football today, and even for our lads. And I probably should have come better equipped to show you. In general, the goals we concede come from, for example, Mansfield's first goal out there comes from our free kick this end. Mansfield's second goal comes from a back pass to a goalkeeper that should just clear up the pitch. So the brutal truth for us at the minute, we're not under pressure in games. We're having individual errors that are costing us. So it's irrelevant the ages of them. In my world, they're both still very, very strong, aggressively good players. I think people will go, for example, we lack pace at the back. How many times have you seen someone run them and score? It doesn't happen. It's all counter-attacks and breakaways. So I respect your question, by the way. I think it's a valid one. But we've just got to be better as a team to stop making, first of all, individual errors. And secondly, when chances come, like the Harrogate game, you've got to put your chances away. Otherwise you end up being punished. So I do think it's a fair question. I think the club's obviously invested in a centre-half that's obviously coming in November, that we actually had in the building January. It's just been a long flight. and again, it's a challenge, it's a dead fair question. Even today, we were looking back, and we're always looking back at how do we improve, how do we get better? How does the team evolve? I think now there's Ryan Boot, Grimesy and Mandeville left from the promotion winning team. That was only 14 months ago. And there's only 3 players left. And obviously, 4. Is there anyone else? Sorry, 4. No, Benny's gone and come back. I don't know. Anyway, next question. My point being, the team's evolving. And as the team evolves, you lose players. This is the brutal challenge. Like the goal, we didn't have Shea last year, did we? All year. The goalie's a new goalie. You know, Vonti's done great at the start of this year, while Tanton's come. So they're still finding their feet. You know, defensively, I do take your point, by the way, with the centre halves. But a real tough thing for defenders, if you don't put chances away, it's like the Walsall game. The Walsall game is the biggest 0-0 you've ever seen in your life. It was a ball. It was a terrible game, yet we lose 1-0. You just go 0-0, shake hands. Can't game, no problem, see you again. And it's something that we've got to be better at. You know, we've got to be better at just picking them points up when we're not at our best. Because we know when we are at our best, we can beat any team in the league. I hope that answers your question, mate. Thank you.
Okay, we've got around about 10 minutes left for the Q&A part. One for you, Ashley, it's an off-the-field match day concourse question. This is no name with this, but raising the question of the introduction of chicken and chips on the concourse. How's it gone? Is it likely to be extended to all concourses?
Okay, right, let's start. It's gone as well. It's gone well, and I'll caveat that because we had a bit of an issue at the start with almost like training actually. We had to use this fancy woman that we've got. And to be fair, John, as you will see, has been designated chip and chicken tester. No, sorry. You was there, John. No, in all seriousness, no, we do recognise the first couple of games. The first couple of games we had feedback that wasn't good enough, and it led John particularly, to obviously investigate a little bit further about what was happening and how things were being cooked. And we went almost back to basics, did a few dry runs, and it literally involved just a few more minutes and a bit of a shake-up of how the chips were cooked, and that was it. We seemed to have solved the problem. And John went down in his designated role, didn't he? Last Saturday.
Yeah, I went down, as I said, in the designated role last Saturday, several times actually. see what they were like after you kept them warm a while. You've got to do the job right, to be fair. Some without red sauce, some not without red sauce. And I'm pleased to report that they were great.
The one issue we've got was still sort of we're happy with the chicken, we're happy with the chips. We're now going to work, I think, a little bit on different offerings, different presentation, etc., things like that. And there is also a question mark about the gluten-free option as to whether we can get them crispy or not, and it seems to be because they're gluten-free, we can't have it. But once we've done that, then we'll start slowly to bring them into other areas of the ground. It has to be, in short, that there is it's not that simple. One, from a manpower side, but also two, from getting the product right and getting the amount of product out quickly enough. So we think we've got the capacity for doing all of this down the south and the sort of home east. But we do also recognise that we're trying to make the north more of a family stand as well. So that's just balancing. It might mean that we'll need an extra oven. We're working on it. Hopefully you'll see there has been some improvement. People have been able. I would recommend testing it. Obviously, I would say that. But please try it out if you do get an opportunity to see them for sale in your part of the ground. But we said all along we weren't going to push it all the way around the ground until we got the product totally right anyway. And we still feel we're probably working a little bit on that. So there we are.
Okay, one for you, Ashley or John. It's a financial question which we've got online. How close is the current squad cost to the EFL financial fair play limit?
Well, we're in League 2. We come under a thing called SCMP, which is Squad Cost Control Monitoring Protocol, which means we can only spend 50% of allowable income on the player cost, and we are operating to that level at the moment. We do have a really healthy player budget. anyway, yeah, but we are well within the SCMP measure that's living, and Andy and his team are. I mean, basically, it's as soon as we make any change, whether it's a loan out or you even change a rental property for a player, you've got to fill in the report again, send it off, and it gets audited by their forensic accountants over in Preston and London. So the controls are strict, and we are within those controls. Does that mean we're operating at a breaking point? No, but that's because of equity injections from the ownership.
Okay. Any questions over the mic? I've got a few still to read out, but I'll just come over here.
So I wanted to ask about more like the sustainability of the increased costs. Particularly what I was thinking about is kit, because over the past couple of years they seem to go up a little bit every year. We're up to £57 now. Is it a sustainable increase every year to a point where a couple of years down the line you could have looked at £70 for a replica shirt? I buy home and away for me and my brother. I'm looking at £240 this year. It's a lot of money as well as the increase in bus tickets, match tickets. Obviously our pockets are thinner, your charges are more. So is it a sustainable model to, obviously it's not all in your hands?
Well, one thing we have done this year is signed, let this out maybe, but we signed an extra contract. We've committed to a few more years with Puma, and they have sort of guaranteed the price of the shirt certainly for the next 2 years. So you shouldn't see much of a difference between next year and this year. The only difference I would say is the home shirt particularly that we've gone for next year is the highest quality we can because of the design of it, and it's you won't be surprised by the colour obviously, but we will try. I do take that on board, yeah, and we will. Don't let me forget I've had this conversation. But we are under cost. I mean, the costs do go up from Puma every year. There is no way around that. But we've had a fixed cost for the next 2 years. But it's tricky. We'll try our hardest to keep it under 60 quid. Yeah.
Okay. We can fit a couple more questions in. Anybody got in the room who wants to ask?
Alright, Ash, Paul, John. I'd sooner ask a football question, but this is about the lounge that you touched on earlier. If I don't ask this, my missus will go mad, because she didn't ask. Just regarding, obviously, we built up the last few years, Joe's built up to be in a great position. Well done to you for that. But this year, we had a fantastic atmosphere built up last year, and it was full, 3 course meal. And I know you said obviously cost is everything these days, but I think a lot of fans and a lot on me will say that you don't probably talk to people in lounge enough just to see if there's a happy medium, to see on cost whether there's something coming up, because last year the atmosphere was fantastic, and this year most people are really unhappy. With different things. I know you're never going to please everybody, but you must have noticed that this year, even when Paul got up this year to tour, it were empty, and it was quite upsetting to see that we filled it and it was great, but now it's half empty when we first come in and there's no atmosphere and everybody's a bit down about it, to be honest.
Normally in the lounge, and John will back me upon it, I think, we generally start to see, capacity audiences, shall we say, once the hour changes. So there's that on one side. We've had great success in the 1866 over the last 2 years by providing the ability to buy food and come in and watch the game. The issue last year was that when all was scraped back and taken and looked at, we were losing money up here. We were subsidising your food, and we can't carry on doing that. So something had to change. So I know I've been through this before, but we took the decision to give people the ability to come into this nice environment. We were upgrading it, spending money on it, to have the ability to just come in and use it as a bar and buy food, or you've got the ability to have a three-course meal. And that is for, you know, obviously everyone in the club. It's not just for the season ticket holders here in the lounge. You know, the capacity in here now is 280, something like that. And last year we had 80 season ticket holders, so there's 200 people extra that, you know, we could have in. And yeah, it was a tricky decision. We tried to we tried to reduce the cost on a match by match for just coming in. But unfortunately, I refer back to the cost increases over time didn't keep up with the cost increases that we were doing in terms of staffing and food, and staffing particularly. And it's just, I think everyone's experiencing that. And undoubtedly there is a shift in society where people prefer, and I'm not talking about everyone just in this room, but there is a move towards a sort of small, particularly on Saturday, a smaller play style dining option. And I think undoubtedly we'll probably be moving towards that because it means we can keep the staffing low and keep the costs down. But obviously we also wanted to have the option where if you wanted to carry on having the three-course meal, then you can, but there's a cost to that. I mean, John.
Yeah, just following on from that with the three-course meal option, we haven't actually planned to do it, which is probably wrong, to be honest, like you say. I actually received an email saying, well, how much is it going to be, because we want to keep the three-course meal. So we kept the option going on that. It's not easy, we don't do it on purpose. I question about the numbers coming in probably, because they're coming in later some are, but the numbers overall were good. They were good last Saturday, it was almost 100 in here. I think the thing to remember as well is that anybody now, when you go out for a meal, costs have gone up. And something to bear in mind is, if you're a restaurant somewhere and food goes up halfway through the year, you can put the price up. You can't when you've done your season ticket. You're stuck with it for 12 months. So you've got to build that margin into it as well. The unknown bit of a margin into it. So, and I think, like Ash says, the trends are not, whilst we do offer the three-course, there's a reason why the new stadiums that are being built and the redeveloped stadiums are having less and less of a three-course meal option. It's because it's not what people are preferring at the moment. That's not to say we don't offer it, of course. We do, because we were asked to do that. So it's not easy. We don't do it on purpose. We do it because we have to. Like Ash says, it was costing us to do it. Where we did go wrong, probably, in truth, is letting it fall too far behind. That's probably where we went wrong, actually.
Okay, a final question which has come from online, following on from the talk of kit, and somebody putting forward the suggestion that, or asking, have we considered a 30th anniversary of the 1997 FA Cup semi-final kit, which is an interesting one. We see clubs doing sort of retro versions. Is that something that perhaps could be considered? Next April, yes, I guess so. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. One to think about for events as well, for the 30th anniversary, sitting as something to look at in future. So, many thanks to everybody who's asked questions either over the mic or on the QR code. Paul, do you want to say a few words?
Just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I think it's a great turnout. I think I've been back 3.5 years. And one of the most amazing things has been seeing how the stadium, the young kids get around Chesterfield now at the top's on. And I think we've got to make sure we keep that positive vibe going. It's tough getting out of leagues and we need everyone's support. We've got to make sure during the game especially we support the players. We get behind them and support them. At the end of games we can all dissect football, but there's a growing culture in football now of anger in stadiums towards teams, and it's something we've got to try and keep away from Chesterfield. We're a special club with special fans, and we've got to make sure we make our players feel valued. One or two of them need that at the minute, and they've got to be paid use then by working hard and producing what you know they can. So a big thank you. Let's keep it going. Let's keep that support strong. Thanks very much, everyone.